Today, let's talk about something that often goes unnoticed. How the vitality of an older adult extends far beyond what we see on the outside. These are small, simple signs, yet they reveal so much about the health and the quiet energy of someone who has lived countless stories. Maybe you've noticed these signs in someone you care about. A steady posture, an easy smile, that spark in the eyes. Little things we often overlook, yet they hold a silent power that deserves to be recognized. Most people don't realize that these signs are everywhere, in the way someone holds a coffee cup, in how they walk, even in the gentle rhythm of their breathing. Tiny details that speak louder than medical charts or test results. That's why today, let's discover together what these 5 signs really mean and how they can transform the way we see aging and vitality. Because, in the end, it's in those everyday gestures that the truest strength of a life well lived reveals itself. 1. How small signs reveal health. Sometimes, the greatest signs of health aren't the ones that show up on medical charts or in statistics. They're found in the smallest gestures. How someone stands up from a chair, how they cradle a cup of tea, or the glint in their eyes. Tiny actions we barely notice, yet they speak volumes about a person's vitality. When we begin to pay attention to these details, we realize that life always finds a way to remind us that strength still lives there. A firm handshake, for example, can say more than any test result. It shows confidence and energy, something that goes deeper than muscle. Likewise, the way someone holds a cup of coffee or leans on a cane reveals so much about their ability to adapt, to find balance in each movement. These subtle signs tell a bigger story, one filled with courage and the will to keep going. Many times, those signs show up in an easy smile or a gaze still hungry to learn something new. It's interesting how, even as the body ages, the curiosity and desire to engage with the world remain alive. That quiet spark shines through each careful gesture, reminding us that real health isn't just about the absence of disease. It's about the presence of life and purpose. What few understand is that these signs of vitality show up in different ways for everyone. For some, it's the determination to walk to the bakery every morning, even when their legs feel heavy. For others, it's the patience of tending a garden, pruning flowers, and talking to the plants. Each small act of care reveals not only physical strength, but also deep emotional resilience. This brings us to something even deeper. The understanding that health isn't measured by numbers or statistics alone. It lives in how someone adapts to changes, in the ability to see beauty in each day, even when challenges loom large. It's that quiet gaze that lets us see beyond appearances and reminds us that everyone has a unique way of showing vitality. When we pay attention to those signs, it's like listening to a silent melody. Each movement, each breath, carries a rhythm that anchors us in the present. In that steady rhythm, we learn to value not just the body that moves, but the soul that chooses to keep dancing, despite the aches and limitations. Because health isn't just in the body, it lives in every gesture of hope. What many don't realize is that even in fragile moments, those small signs can teach us so much about what it means to be alive. They're like seeds of strength that bloom in every daily choice. The decision to rise early, to brew a warm cup of tea, to watch the sunset with quiet reverence. Each of these choices strengthens something within us, something that can't be measured by tests, but can be felt in the steady, calm breath. In the end, these signs aren't just markers of health. They're reminders that life pulses in every movement, even when the body isn't as strong as it used to be. They invite us to see vitality as something far beyond youth. Because at its core, real strength is in those who still want to feel the breeze on their face and live each day as if it were a gift. 2. Foods and habits that strengthen. There's something almost magical in how certain foods and simple daily habits can breathe new life into the body and spirit, even as we age. It's not just about ticking off nutrients on a list, but about the little moments that help us rediscover our zest for living. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee in the morning, the crunch of toast, the slow warmth of a soup simmering on the stove. These are the rituals that feed not just the body, but the soul. It's amazing how, with a stroll through the local farmer's market, you can find the secret to lasting vitality. Fresh vegetables, colorful fruits, olive oil gleaming like liquid gold. Each of these gifts from nature reminds us that the earth offers exactly what we need. When we choose what to bring to our table with care, we're also choosing how we want to feel. More alive, more present, more ourselves. What many forget is that eating well is only part of the story. Vitality also springs from the habits we weave into our days, like the morning walk through the park, stretching before bed, or sharing a quiet conversation with someone dear. These small, consistent acts are like invisible threads that keep the web of health strong and supple. The most important thing isn't following strict rules or impossible diets. It's discovering what makes us feel truly good, what truly comforts us. Maybe it's a glass of cool water first thing in the morning, or that square of chocolate that brightens the afternoon. Each small, healthy habit is a gentle reminder that caring for ourselves isn't a burden. It's a precious gift we can offer ourselves every day. But there's a detail that changes everything: how we listen to our own bodies. Because there isn't a single magical food that works for everyone. Each of us has our own rhythm, our own story, our own way of feeling well. That's why the key is to pay attention to the quiet whispers of our bodies each day, without rushing or forcing anything. When we create habits that nourish us deeply, we're building an inner sanctuary. It doesn't matter how many years we've lived. We can always choose what brings us strength, and in that daily choice, we find the foundation of a life that's truly whole. What seemed like routine becomes an act of self-love, a quiet affirmation that we're still here, present, and full of life. It's fascinating how these simple habits can awaken memories from childhood or special moments in life. The scent of bread fresh from the oven, the warmth of soup on a winter's night, the soft light of morning spilling through the window. These details return us to joy and confidence, because there is no greater strength than the one born of feeling at home in our own skin and our own choices. In the end, discovering what strengthens us isn't some distant goal. It's a way of living every day. It's the permission to feel, to savor, to laugh while cooking, or to simply breathe deeply and give thanks for what we have. True health isn't found in books or numbers. It's in the kitchen, in those everyday gestures, and in every bite that connects us to the vibrant pulse of life itself. 3. Simple exercises to keep vitality alive. So often, we believe that staying strong means lifting heavy weights or running mile after mile. But vitality doesn't always come from pushing ourselves to extremes. Sometimes, it's in the smallest movements. Stretching gently when we wake up, breathing deeply, or taking a quiet walk through the park at dusk. Simple acts, yet full of intention. Each one a soft invitation to keep our bodies awake and alive. What many don't understand is that it's not just about moving the muscles, it's about connecting with them. Each slow, mindful step is like a quiet conversation with our bodies. Like choosing to take the stairs instead of the elevator, or swaying to music in the kitchen while making dinner. Small, everyday motions that can strengthen us in ways we don't always see. A stroll through the woods or an afternoon tending a garden can be the most healing exercise. The smell of the damp earth, bird song overhead, the breeze kissing our cheeks. These small wonders remind us that movement is not an obligation, but a chance to celebrate life. And when we see it that way, moving isn't a chore, it's a gift we give ourselves. The beautiful part is that these simple exercises can spark our energy in ways we don't expect. Like when we take a moment to stretch, feeling each muscle awaken. Or when we pause to breathe deeply, filling our lungs with fresh air that seems to reach every corner of our being. Small movements, yet they reconnect us with the present and renew our inner vitality. The real secret lies in consistency, not intensity. What matters most isn't how many reps we do, but how we do them, mindfully, with kindness, listening to our bodies and honoring their pace. Each movement becomes a quiet act of self-love, a gentle promise that we're still here, still growing. For many, these exercises are also a moment of pause in the day, a time to set aside worries and just feel the body in motion, like stretching by the window and letting the sunlight warm our skin, or noticing the quickening of our pulse and remembering that we're still alive and present. The most heartening thing is that it doesn't matter how old we are or how strong we feel. There's always a movement we can do, no matter how small. In that movement is the spark that keeps us going, the quiet promise that there's still so much left to discover and enjoy. So, vitality isn't some faraway goal. It's a journey we take every day, with each step and each breath. A gentle reminder that even as the body changes with time, the will to keep moving always finds a way to bloom. 4. Real stories of strength. In every neighborhood, on every street, there are stories of people who, through small gestures, show us what true strength really looks like. Stories of grandmothers who still cook Sunday meals for the whole family, despite the aches that come with age. Of neighbors who walk across the square each morning with slow but determined steps. Simple stories, yet full of that spark that keeps life alight, reminding us that real vitality knows no age. What many don't see is how these stories hold a power that can transform us. When we hear about someone who rose after a fall or learned to laugh at their own limits, something within us stirs awake. We realize that strength doesn't always shout. It often whispers. And in those soft whispers, we find the quiet promise that we can always begin again, no matter what the calendar says. Picture the grandfather who still strolls through the park each evening, even though his legs are unsteady, or the woman who, after a difficult diagnosis, chooses to keep tending her plants because they make her smile. These stories teach us that health isn't just a physical state. It's a daily act of courage and a deep commitment to living. Sometimes, true strength appears when we stop fighting what we can't change and start caring for what we can. Like when someone decides to walk a little further each day, or simply grants themselves permission to rest without guilt. These small details might seem unimportant, but over time, they weave a quiet safety net that supports both body and spirit. The most touching thing about these stories is the shared thread of resilience, the quiet determination that lights up the eyes of someone who has seen so much and still wants to learn, to share, to laugh. Because in the end, every story of resilience is a hymn to life, a gentle reminder that vitality doesn't fade with age, but reinvents itself each day. When we listen to these stories, we find our own hope and strength reflected back. We realize that, while our challenges may differ, we all share the same yearning to feel truly alive. And in that quiet connection, we find comfort and inspiration. Because seeing someone else's strength reminds us of our own, waiting to be discovered. What's most beautiful is that strength doesn't always look like we expect. Sometimes it's a smile after a hard day, a child's hug, or the way someone says yes to life, even when everything seems to say no. It's a kind of strength that doesn't depend on youth or muscle, but on the decision to keep dreaming and to keep loving. In the end, these stories invite us to see vitality not as a single achievement, but as a journey, a gentle unfolding that happens every day. Because as long as there's a will to rise, to share a cup of coffee, to plant a flower, life keeps finding ways to bloom. And in that quiet blooming, we discover the greatest power we have: the choice to keep living, always. 5. Practical tips for everyday life. Sometimes, it's not the big changes that make the biggest difference, but the small actions we repeat every day. Like starting the morning with a glass of warm water, or taking 5 minutes to breathe deeply before bed. Simple suggestions, almost invisible, yet over time they lay the foundation for stronger health and a sense of well-being that feels real. What's interesting is that these tips don't demand anything impossible. They only ask us to listen to what our bodies truly need. To rest when we feel worn out, to move when the energy within us calls. In this way, vitality becomes part of daily life, a gentle melody woven into each moment, reminding us that life itself is made of these small, steady details. One of the simplest yet most powerful tips is to learn how to stretch. Every morning, taking a few moments to feel our muscles slowly awaken and expand, like a quiet breath of life. It's a movement that seems small, but it awakens the energy sleeping in every cell. Best of all, it's something anyone can do, regardless of age or fitness level. Another practical tip is to care for what we eat, not as a burden, but as an act of love. Listening to the body, feeling which foods truly nourish us and which leave us feeling heavy. In every meal, choosing something that doesn't just fill the stomach, but also fills the heart. Because food isn't just fuel. It's memory, comfort, and quiet strength. But what changes everything is how we view these small habits. When we see them as acts of self-care, they stop feeling like chores and become moments of connection with who we are. Like sipping a cup of tea on a quiet afternoon, or taking a short walk to clear our minds. Little rituals that gently bring us back to the present, even on the grayest days. The most important reminder is that each of us has our own rhythm. What works for one may not work for another, and that's okay. Listening to our unique needs, without comparison or harsh judgment, is the wisest advice we can follow. Because in the end, health isn't some distant destination. It's something we build each day, step by step, breath by breath. Sometimes, these small practical tips are like a gentle return to what truly matters. Like setting aside the phone to listen to the birds singing outside, or giving ourselves a moment of stillness to feel our own heartbeat. Small pauses that recharge us and fill us with the quiet promise that there's always more to explore. In the end, vitality isn't measured in big achievements, but in the decision to care for ourselves through those small, daily actions. In choosing to live each day with intention, even as time keeps moving forward. Because the real strength of life isn't in what we do once, but in what we choose to do each morning when the first light appears. And then, everything falls into place. We realize that vitality isn't just the reflection of a strong body, but the quiet determination to keep going, even when our steps grow slower. We see that every small gesture, every bright look in the eye, every deep breath creates a quiet refuge of inner strength. But, are we ready to accept that this strength has always been within us? Waiting like a soft whisper to invite us to live each moment with more presence, more gratitude, and more love. Now that you've explored these 5 signs of strength and vitality in older adults, you may understand that true resilience isn't found in grand accomplishments, but in the quiet gestures of daily life. Each step taken with intention, every choice to nourish our bodies and spirits, these are the seeds of vitality that bloom in silence. Strength isn't the privilege of the young. It's the echo of every story we choose to tell with our bodies and our hearts. The beauty of these 5 signs lies in their simplicity. They don't ask for heroic sacrifices or impossible promises. They only ask that we remain present, to notice the gentle tremble of our hands, to value the steady glow of a gaze or the warmth of a quiet embrace. True health is never some distant milestone. It's a gift that renews itself whenever we choose to listen to what our bodies are saying, with kindness and care. I hope these reflections and suggestions can inspire you to see the strength that already exists in your everyday life. If you feel called to, share in the comments which of these 5 signs of vitality touched you the most, or which small gesture helps you feel more alive each day. I'd love to hear about your experiences and continue exploring this journey of life and vitality together. And if you're curious to keep uncovering the quiet power of inner strength and well-being, don't miss the video recommended above. There you'll find even more insights and stories to inspire your own journey toward a health and vitality that never truly fade. Because as long as we're alive, there's always another way to choose presence, gratitude, and the gentle promise of another day.